All right, hello everybody. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. Welcome to the first episode of Behind the Screens. My name is Silvers7776, but I go primarily by Josh if you know me. And today I have a special guest. Would you mind introducing yourself, please?
Yes, hello everybody. My name is MicahBlaze17, or you can just call me Micah as normally other people do. I am a Twitch streamer and a bit of a YouTuber. I primarily focus on Nintendo games, most notably Fire Emblem, but I do tend to branch out every so often, depending on how I feel.
All right. So, what kind of content do you make? Let's start off with that.
Well, I make a lot of different kinds of content, but primarily I am a Twitch streamer. You can find my channel at MicahBlaze17 on Twitch, where I primarily stream a lot of Nintendo games, like I mentioned before. I also have a YouTube channel where I either upload stream clips, or what I also do is that I make little animations utilizing the sprites from the game Fire Emblem Heroes, which I am also kind of known for. But way back when, I also used to make scripted content, but that has now become more scarce over the years, primarily focusing more on these animations and stream clips. And on the side, I most recently started doing voice work, amateur voice work, so amateur voice acting. I've been in several different projects, which you could also find on my channel in a playlist with all the voice works that I've been a part of.
Sounds like you've been through a lot for the past how long now?
I started. I feel like my career as a content creator slash influencer has really taken off at about 3 years ago. That's actually when I first started streaming on Twitch. But before that, my YouTube channel was primarily where I would upload my school projects, which some of them are taken down for reasons as they're not that good and probably just doesn't line up with the current content that I'm uploading now. But I on my YouTube channel is where I started, where I just made either some edits or some scripted content talking about games that I love, and the occasional reaction video for video game news. That is until in 2020, when COVID first hit and everything was shut down, that I decided to give streaming a shot. And through streaming is where I built up a little bit of a following through streaming Fire Emblem, the first Fire Emblem game that we got in the West, which was Fire Emblem 7, the Blazing Blade. And from there, I should just continue to stream more, and more people came to watch, and that's where I am now.
Wow. So 2020, the prime time of, COVID-19.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
so I guess for my thing is how has that been, or like, not besides, well, not how's it been, but like, why did you, really start in the first place?
Why did I start in the first place? So I think one day, I believe this is where I had the idea. I was very bored one day. Of course, with COVID shutting down pretty much everything, even school, I wasn't able to go to in-person classes and have that hands-on experience for myself. I was still able to go out of the house because of my day job, where they still required me to work. It was in food business, and one of my coworkers, Asen, really good guy, he streamed a lot. And I would constantly watch his videos, and was even briefly a moderator for his channel, just to kind of filter out some unnecessaries that we don't really like to see in the chat. But it was watching him and a few other streamers that I wanted to give streaming a shot. I actually first streamed a Pokemon game, and the idea was that I wanted to be a shiny hunter. A shiny hunter, as if you may not know, shiny hunting is I guess a subsection of the Pokemon community where people focus on hunting shiny Pokemon, which is all based on luck, but it makes for some really interesting content, especially when you stream, because you're mainly just sitting there while you're either encountering the Pokemon, checking to see if they're shiny, or resetting a game to check if they're shiny. And the main thing that people want to see is you reacting to you getting a shiny, which at full odds are in the modern games at least 1 out of a 4,000. So what do you do in between that? You're generally talking to the chat and having a conversation, which is primarily one of the most important things I feel like a Twitch streamer or any kind of streamer should really do, is have that interaction between you and the chat. It makes the chat feel like they're a part of the content, and it also makes them feel like like being a part of the conversation, and that usually means that they'll want to stick around and chat with you some more. Obviously, it'll become very more difficult when you're a bigger streamer and having more view counts. But when you're starting out small and you only have 1 or 2 viewers, and even then 5 or 10, it's very easy to kind of keep track on chat and having a conversation with them. Even then, when you get a new viewer, it's very important, at least to me, that you greet them, ask them how they're doing, and ask them how did you find this channel, and if you're a fan of the game that you're playing, and just really strike up a conversation with them. I think that's what really retains viewership, especially if you're a small channel.
Right. So I guess my thing now, and kind of leads perfect into my next section, talk about your community a little bit. I know that you've been streaming for the past three years now, making content for that long. Talk about your community. Give me some ideas about, let's say your viewership, your average viewership per stream now.
Oh, yes. So being a small, I believe I'm at 350 followers on Twitch. I don't get too many viewers all too often. I'd say my average viewership lies at around 3 to 5 on a normal day, and it usually picks up at its height maybe at around 7 to 10 on average. And occasionally I'll be rated by other people in my said community, or at least the people that I have interacted with in the past. And, we built upon this whole community, so we usually have the same viewers at most. I probably see maybe 15 to 20, and the most that I've ever had for someone watching me was at the hundreds. I've been rated by some larger people in the community, and every time that does happen, it's kind of stressful. It's kind of like, oh, there's so many people watching me. But of course, like I said, I always do my best to greet everybody there to make sure that people want to stick around and see what I'm up to. As for the small community that I have, as for the people who watch me initially, it's very small. Like I said, I started streaming with shiny hunting, but I then moved on to Fire Emblem. Specifically, what I was doing was that I was doing something called the Iron Man Challenge. And Iron Man Challenge is basically when your unit dies or your character dies, they are dead, and you cannot reset for them and bring them back to life like that by exploiting the game's save files. And if you get a game over, your run is done, and you have to start all the way at the beginning again. So it's basically kind of like an arcade run, right? You start from the beginning, and you go as far as you can until you either win or lose. There's no pauses in between where you can retry, reset. If you want to retry and reset, you start from the beginning. And there was something about that big challenge that attracted people from the Fire Emblem community to come and see how I was doing, because at the time I was not that engrossed in the Fire Emblem community. I honestly didn't really like Fire Emblem that much, but I've seen that challenge float a lot, and I wanted to give it a shot. And that's after playing one game and beating it on my first stream, or my first, the first game that I decided to do this challenge on. I beat it the first try. I tried another game where I promptly lost. I tried the next game, which I won, and people have been tuning in, either finding my stream clips on YouTube where I upload some edited clips on YouTube, or people tune in from searching Fire Emblem on Twitch, or even like I said before, raids where people from the community will transfer their viewers to you and just slowly build up that community. That's how I got to, I think, 350 followers on Twitch, and I think right now 450 on YouTube. And so the community has been great. There are, of course, some people who want to see you do specific things, and they'll only show up when you're doing specific things. But I think one of the best parts is definitely knowing that there are a few viewers who, when you decide to try out something different, they'll still be there because they're there for you, and rather than the content that you make. And those small few really do make streaming worth it, because they're more than just viewers at this point. They're online friends, right? Of course, that brings up a completely different topic when you're bigger. The whole idea of parasocialism.
Yeah.
But for a smaller streamer, it's very more compact, and you're able to manage it a little more, and it's easier. It's more of like, yeah, this is just a fun thing on the side, and it's not a career. So it's, at the moment, it's like, yeah, I like these people, my viewers. They're like acquaintances, or people that I can talk to freely and have a fun time with. Friends.
Yeah.
Sort of. But that's a whole other story, right?
Well, so like I mean like you've had your community build up over the years, and you've mentioned people that have rated you. Have you rated other people, and then like now are they now in your community? Or like that little group of friends that you kind of have now, right, as you've mentioned.
Yeah, because like I said, I've rated other people. Like it's like whenever I feel like whenever I get rated, like especially like a few raids in one stream, I always feel the need to, as I like to say, pass on the love to another streamer. And yeah, the other people that I have rated in the past, I've kind of entered their community too, or they've become part of my community also. I think a prime example of this is a streamer friend of mine's, Kron, or his screen name, Kron Fiore. I remember it vaguely. I still had the VOD, and I remember recently we were talking about the first time I met him, quote unquote met him, was I was finishing up my 12-hour stream, which is something that I did during my anniversary stream, where I was streaming straightly for 12 hours, and I wanted to pass on the viewership that I had to someone else.
Yeah.
So I was looking for someone to raid, so I looked up Fire Emblem, because I was streaming Fire Emblem Awakening at the time, and that's where I found Kron, who was at the time streaming, I believe it was Fire Emblem Three Houses. And it's so funny looking back at it, because now whenever I stream Kron, it's like, all right, we're passing it on over to Kron. You know what time it is? It's 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Kron's about to start. So we'll send you guys over there. And then looking back at the first time I rated him, it was very awkward, very kind of weird. It's like, here's a new person. It's a VTuber that goes by Kron Feyor. I didn't even know how to pronounce his name at the first time. But then after a while, I just kind of stopped by his stream. He would stop by mine, and now it's come to the point where we're kind of part of this big community. And like I may have mentioned earlier, I've done like these animations using Fire Emblem Heroes sprites. I've actually done animations for his channel too. I did his background screen just because I thought it'd be fun. He was looking to revamp his channel. I was like, I was working on a thing. I think I can make it for you. And I'm actually still working on things for him to this day.
That's good. Kind of like I scratch your back, you scratch mine kind of thing. But
yeah,
it's
yeah.
more
It's like I want to do this cool thing for you because you're a cool guy, and like this back and forth kind of thing, where it's like, yeah, I support you, you support me, but not because it's like that's the right thing to do, but it's because we want to.
Yeah.
We're in this big community, and we want to do these fun things for each other and help each other out, right?
Yeah, I think
that's how it is now.
Mm-hmm. And I think going back just a little bit, you mentioned shiny hunting, right?
Yeah.
So I guess you mentioned that it's good content for streaming, and when you eventually get your hunt done for Pokemon, people mainly wait for reactions. Um,
Yeah.
do those people stick around for you?
So when it comes to like the shiny hunting portion, I actually don't do that anymore. Mostly because it's very like shiny hunting within itself is a very long process, and especially because there are gonna be times where people don't show up, and it's just you by yourself, and the content gets pretty stale and boring, and it's like, oh, okay, I don't know what else to do because I'm just here resetting it. So while I have said that shiny hunting kind of makes for good content, I think personally it makes for good content when you're able to interact with chat. So if there's no chat, it's pretty stale. When it comes to making streaming or whatever that makes good content, one of the most important things is the interaction with chat, at least from my perspective and what I've been able to find success with. Of course, there are many other people who stream many other kinds of games. The games that I primarily stream are single player games, so these are games with a set beginning and end. Maybe I'll do different challenges just to spice it up a little bit. And when people come in, we're usually discussing about like how the game is going, what I could do for an upcoming level, or what people are giving me suggestions when I'm in a rut, having that kind of conversation. Of course, there are other games. There are other games where, like let's say League of Legends. I have streamed League of Legends in the past, and that makes for good content in the sense that it's a competitive scene. Competitive games are very fun to watch on Twitch because you're basically just witnessing someone's skill at a game. Sometimes people do it for fun. They're not taking it seriously at all. So it's more like a casual competitive gameplay where people are playing a highly competitive game, but playing it in like a casually kind of way, like either with friends, with viewers, and just having a fun time with chat. They might mess up and they'll laugh it off and so on and so forth. But of course, another thing that drives people to watch content is to see how good you are at a thing. So playing competitive games with the mindset of being competitive, that is also where a lot of viewers go to see, like, oh, your high skill level, to see you play, to see you and improve on their gameplay too. But of course, I'm getting into like actual professional gamers or people with that high skill level. Meanwhile, I'm iron. I can't, or like back in the day, I'm bronze. I'm not escaping it. I'm not even touching silver at all. Even when it comes to fighting games, I'll be on the lower brackets. I've at every single Smash tournament I've ever gone to, I have never taken one set. I've always been out 0-2, 0-2 every single tournament. But like I said, I think the main thing when it comes to making good stream content is that interaction with chat. If you don't have that interaction with chat, it's really hard to be engaged to the point where it's like all you're really doing is recording yourself playing a game. Like I said with the shiny hunting thing, it's much more fun and enjoyable if there's people to talk to. So whether you have people in your chat with you or people in a Discord call with you, you really have to either plan things ahead or just kind of make sure that when people do arrive that you want to continue a conversation with them and help have them stay and really build up that streamer viewer relationship in a non-parasocial way. Too attached, and that's gonna cause a whole lot of issues. But as a smaller streamer, I don't really see that happening. But for bigger people, yeah, that's a big problem. But when I say streamer-viewer relationship, I more meant like the interaction between just watching someone do a thing and being part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of fun.
So, like the whole like streamer interaction and, like your favorite things you've done. I guess what are your most favorite things, like your streams or your videos? Like, what are your both like? What are your what? Sorry, what is your favorite stream you've done, or your like your most favorite video you've done like ever?
I see. I think one of the biggest things that I've ever done as a streamer, starting off with streaming, has been a 24-hour subathon. And what that means is that I am here, sitting on my desk, playing a game for 24 straight hours. And I may that's not something you just do on a whim. That's something you plan for. And for the two that I've done so far, I have, I've planned this ahead with mixed results. Let's talk about the first one. Let's talk about the first. The
Okay.
first one I wanted to do was I wanted to play a game called Fire Emblem Three Houses. Of course, like I said, I've been primarily known as a Fire Emblem content creator slash influencer, I suppose. And I wanted to play at the time, the newest game. I think at the time it was about a year old though. And doing what's a solo run, utilizing my favorite character, the same character that you'll see a lot on my channel and on streams, because she's kind of like, I guess like the channel mascot. She's my favorite Fire Emblem character, and she's my favorite, like one of my favorite characters in general. Her name is Bernadetta, so I wanted to do this Bernadetta solo run,
Hmm.
and to kind of like and what a specifically subathon is. So I explained what the 24-hour part was, which is self-explanatory. But what a subathon is that throughout the stream you can either donate money like to the streamer, or cheer with bits, or send gift subs or subscribe yourself. And what that does is that the 24-hour timer will increase over time the more that people like subscribe, gift sub, throw bits, donate, etc., etc. So while the initial timer was 24 hours, the final stream time, I believe, went to 27 or 28 hours. So I was up for 28 hours, and to make it even more fun, I decided to bleach my hair the night before, because I said that if we get to a certain amount of subscriptions, I would dye my hair purple, because Bernadetta's hair is purple. And that's what I did. I had my cousin come over. She helped me. A few days before, she helped me bleach my hair. This is beautiful blonde color, like totally different than what I had right now with my normal black hair. And we dyed it purple. And it was a lot of fun. And honestly, the purple came out really nice. But yeah, one of the issues is that this is what happened during my first subathon and my second 24-hour subathon, is that about towards the end, I didn't have enough energy, and I actually knocked out on stream. Luckily, luckily, on the first time I did it, I had my cousin over to dye my hair, so I was able to take a break while she continued to entertain the viewers. And while like literally, I still have the VOD up. If you look back at where my cousin starts playing on my Genshin Impact account, because she doesn't play Fire Emblem, she only knows Genshin. So she was playing on my account, and you can see me on my bed knocked out with purple hair, just. But I was only out for an hour, and then I picked up where I left off to finish off the stream. But what was worse is that the second subathon I did, I was hoping to have backup. It was good that I had my cousin there for backup. My second subathon, I had no backup. So when I was running out of steam, I did not have the energy. There are times where I'm just mopey, like slouching, like, oh, I can't do this anymore, guys. How more time? Oh my, there's 3 hours left. And there's even been points where I have knocked out fully on stream. And it's like, while I had my headphones on, people had to redeem sound alerts to try to wake me up. And it was like, I think my friend even called me once, like, dude, wake up, you okay? And it's like, yeah. And when it was finally over, oh, I slept like a log. I was done and over with. But that's pretty much it for like my favorite like streams that I've done. Those were very special events near and dear to my heart because those were basically meant to celebrate how much what I've done on the platform on Twitch, and to celebrate the community and just have one big old day where I usually stream at a specific time, but if I'm doing it for 24 hours, all my viewers from different parts of the world, from the UK to the mainland to even Germany, that like they're able to watch me at one point or another and see how I'm doing, and depending on where they tune in, either be high energy or as for YouTube, it's so weird because there are a few videos where I can say that I'm truly proud of, but I feel like none of them really match the most recent video, like one of the most recent videos that I've done, which is called Project Echoes to Faraway Valentia, which was an animated project. I mentioned this like a few times throughout this podcast, that I've done basically these little animations with utilizing sprites from the game Fire Emblem Heroes. This was the first time I took those little bit animations, like those little short animations, and decided to make a whole, like a small short video that was normally, like, these things are like 10 seconds long on loop, but this one I decided to go, this one was about 3 minutes long, 3 to 4 minutes long, and it basically was a love letter to my favorite game in the franchise, Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows Valentia. And the idea was to kind of like portray their everyday life after the game's story has ended and the war is done and they're able to return to their everyday lives. Like, how is everybody doing now? That's the idea that I kind of came up with a little bit of inspiration from Chrono Trigger, the ending to Chrono Trigger, which is actually how that actually started. I just finished streaming Chrono Trigger at the time, and I wanted to make a little animation to celebrate it, so I focused it on the ending of Chrono Trigger, one of the few endings of Chrono Trigger, and from there, I was only planning to have a short, like maybe 10-second loop stretched out to like a minute for people to just watch on loop. And I was like thinking, what if I did more? And that turned like this little small thing that I could do in like 2 weeks, with the amount of time that I'm given, to 5 months of hard work, 5 months of trial and error, with many times After Effects crashing on me, because it's many times. 5 months of work. I even gave myself a set deadline that I missed twice. I missed one deadline, I gave myself another month, and I missed that deadline until I was finally able to release it. And it did alright, to say the least. It did alright, to say the least. But I think the most important thing there is that for the people who have seen it, they have enjoyed it a lot, to the point where whenever I'm having a bad day, I go back to that video and I read some of the comments, because they say how much they loved it, and they can see how much passion I had for this little animation, and so on and so forth. It might not be, it's not even in my, I don't think it's in my top 10 most viewed videos, but it's definitely my most favorite video that I've ever made, out of all the videos that I've ever made.
That's great. And like, people have like have you put it out on other social media, and have like other people like hey, this video is amazing, should you watch it? Like, have people shared that around, like, I don't know, the Fire Emblem community, as we've mentioned,
Yeah, people have shared it around. That's actually how it kind of grew to where it is now. Like, so I know everybody like kind of like talks about how the YouTube algorithm never really shares around the video, and it's a very weird system, but it also depends on how and when you upload things. So when I first uploaded the video, it had only garnered about 20 views at launch, like within the first hour, only like 20 or so views. And I did share it, so I usually share it on Twitter, or I guess it's called X now, but at the time it was called Twitter. I shared it on Twitter, and it garnered some attention. because of the, like I said, the community that I'm in, with the friends I've made along the way. They liked it and shared it with their friends, and from there, like, I also posted it on Reddit, and also posted and shared it on other Discord servers that I'm in, to once again, like, ask the community, like, hey, like, they knew I was also working on this, so I was like, I finally finished the thing. If you want to give it a look, see, give it all out. And of course, like, on the channels that I do share it with, the owner of the channel would, try to get as much people to look at it as much as possible, because they knew how much I worked on it. It's actually even credited which servers that I shared the video on, who were also the ones that knew that I was working on this. But it was at its most, it went to, I'd say, like 200 or so views once I shared it on Reddit, and everybody started picking it up, and it was very, very, very neat, very cool. But I'm really not sure, like, of course, with people sharing it and all, it even garnered the attention of other people in the Fire Emblem community, the people that I watch, who have a higher viewer base, and or who are kind of, I guess you could say, figureheads in the community, those who are more well known, and they saw my video and they shared it, and I still am kind of shocked that, yeah, they, like, these people that I enjoyed watching for their Fire Emblem content were able to see my content and enjoy it just the same, and share it with their audience. And that's where it kind of sits at a 2,000 views here on YouTube, or about 2,000. I even shared it again on Twitter a few months later. At least like a little snippet of it, and that one actually performed way better. I think that one on Twitter is at like 6,000 views, but the results were still very much the same, and where it's like, because it reached more people saw it, and more people enjoyed it, and they left very, very nice comments that makes me want to do more of these if I have the time, because that was 5 months of my life, just working hard, having to deal with After Effects crashing on me. But that's really my fault. If I'm doing an animation project, I should be really using the proper I shouldn't be using After Effects primarily. I should be using Adobe Animate, which is a more for animation. But I never took any courses in school to that works with Animate. I mainly worked on Premiere Pro and After Effects, so that's why I focused mainly on using After Effects, because it's a language that I know how to speak. So that's, if there's a way that I can work with what I know, I work with what I know, and that's why I was able it took so long, because yeah, it's just not an optimal program to use for animations like these.
Okay. I think one thing that I want to ask everybody that comes onto this podcast is, if not for content creation, do you think gaming would be where it is now?
If it's not for content creation, I think so. Content creation and influencing, like influencers, content creators, the like, have really, they've really, I guess, I don't think gaming will be where it is now if it weren't for people creating videos and streaming video games. Most importantly, right? It's because of people like them, like big content creators, like, let's say, Alpharad, Ludwig, so on and so forth, that stream and make videos about certain games, that kind of spreads more awareness. And I know that's like one of the main things that people say when it comes to content creation and influencing and stuff like that, is that, like, it's kind of like free advertising, where they take a game and they'll play it through and through. And especially like when it comes to games with like a compelling story, like the Persona games or Xenoblade Chronicles, where a lot of people who have played the game remember how it was playing it for the first time and all the emotions where all these twists and turns of events happening in front of your eyes. There's something about going back to someone else who was experiencing the game for the first time and seeing their reactions to certain points, like the first 2 hours of Xenoblade. That is a big event that happens within the first 2 to 5 hours of Xenoblade Chronicles 1, where it's like people have wanted to see how people will react to that certain event. Or another one for me is like a certain event in Persona 4, which caught me off guard really bad the first time I played around. I also like to go and see people who are watching playing Persona 4 for the first time and seeing how they react to this very emotional moment that I've never seen a single dry eye when it came to that specific moment in Persona 4. It gets everybody good who is that invested into the game, even if it's just like a little teary eye or like watery. You're either crying your eyes out or like your heart is broken and you like, you know, like you're not gonna be smiling for a while. Like that, it's one of those big moments. And not only that, to kind of extend it even more, like when it comes to influencing content creation, another big thing about video games is that some of them, you know, we have our single player experience, the people who are watching, and you know, not only just watching like someone play the game, but also videos of people like explaining, like dissecting the story and game design of video games to really explain why something is as great as it is, from the character designs to the level designs to the music, all sorts of fun and creative things that go into a video game. There are people who are able to dissect it and able to tell you like why it works so well, why it doesn't work so well, or maybe it's just them trying to express why this meant so much to them because maybe they were going through a rough patch in their lives and playing this game, especially with the messages that they hold, really opened up their eyes and made them to the person that they are today. It's really fun, like seeing like these more intimate stories that come out about video games, because you know, while games are initially one way to pass the time as like just a hobby kind of thing, but one of the best parts about hobbies in general is that you're able to form a community and share these experiences with other people. That's where content creation really influences where gaming is now, is being able to through the power of online streaming, you know, the internet, we're able to reach people across the world. Like I said, I have viewers from the mainland, the UK and Germany, and well, Germany's in Europe and Asia too. Like we're able to come together and really talk about why we love certain games and all. And of course, the other thing I wanted to talk about was competitive video games. Of course, you can look back all the way back to the early days of Street Fighter 2 to Street Fighter 3, you know, all the arcade events, and of course shooting games like Call of Duty, Quake. Before Call of Duty was Quake, and that was also like a huge competitive scene to where we are now with MOBAs, what was that for? A multiplayer online battle arena. It's like League of Legends, Smite. Of course, other shooter games that are more team-oriented, like Overwatch, Valorant. These big games that have garnered as much these huge competitive scenes, like League of Legends Worlds, EVO, which is the biggest fighting game tournament in the world, so on and so forth. Even games like Pokemon has a competitive scene where they also have their own like worlds and stuff, where a bunch of people come together to watch these skilled players play their hearts out and to be crowned #1 in the world. So the competitive scene in video games have also garnered a lot of attention to really amplify, to the point where it's like, I don't want to watch the NFL. Like the NFL is like, you know, like the Super Bowl is like the high production value and stuff like that. I'd rather watch people play video games on that kind of same level. Because one must only look at one of the many more recent League of Legends Worlds tournament, and look at the production value that they go into, like the performances midway through the match, and how people react to like these big plays and the big moments. Like last year's Worlds, and at least in terms of the actual gameplay itself, it was huge. It was huge. More specifically, there's like something I was talking to my friends about is how big that the final two teams were. On one hand, we have the legend himself, right? Like the League of Legends legend himself, who has won many worlds in the past, but who has kind of hasn't won a world in a long time. Now back in the running to win worlds one more time, versus a rookie making it for the first time. He's now at the finals of worlds for the very first time, and the story of these two players' rivalry go back all the way to when they were in high school, because they actually were in the same high school. So we had the legend versus the rookie, and it was one of the best runs I've ever seen in League of Legends, where at first the veteran is dominating, but then the rookie's team are able to fight back very hard, and how does it end? The king dethroned one more time, and the rookie stands above all, as along with his teammates, as the world's best. And like, it's these kinds of competitive stories. Like, take a look at fighting games too. You see many people dedicate their lives to playing these fighting games, and you see people like, let's say, like Sonic Fox or Hungry Box. I remember Hungry Box when it comes to Smash and fighting games, right? He at EVO, which is the biggest fighting game tournament in the world, it is very competitive, very, very competitive, and he's never won a single one until I think it was 2016, where he finally, despite all the odds, were able to go up against all of his greatest rivals, and to stand above them all, and to finally make it to grand finals and finally win EVO for himself. You could see it in his face when he finally won, that he couldn't believe it, that, after all these years of trying, that he could stand amongst everybody else, amongst his peers, as one of the best players in the world, winning the biggest tournament in the world. It's these different stories, from competitive games to these single player games, being able to dissect the stories, to be able to show your passion and skill for a certain game, that really brings people together and makes gaming a bigger deal than it ever was before. Now we have stuff like game shows, like the Game Awards, like the which is the video game equivalent of the Oscars, or like there are other award shows too.
Yeah.
And like so much more that people like games and like these game developers are starting to be recognized as some of the greatest creative minds in the world, which is huge. Because I remember growing up in high school and loving video games, and really talking about my teacher about how he never thought video games would take off. Like, the video games are just that, games, just to be played for pastime, and as just that now it's like, oh yeah, video games, that's an industry that you can go into, whether you want to make them or making content. That content creating and being an influencer was not a job option when I was in high school. It was a dream, a pipe dream, but now it's more realistic than being whatever. But you think about it, every single form of media starts out from somewhere. You can go look as far back as when movies were first being made. People thought that they were just a passing fad, but of course, as technology evolved and we improved, as working with these equipment and showing what you could do, you evolve. You're able to tell, instead of showing like a 30-second clip, you're able to tell a 5-minute story, and going from a 5-minute story to an entire, like, a play on film. And then you evolve it from the equipment that you have now, and incorporate more practical effects, more amazing makeup detail, better recording. Like now we got color, boom, better audio, boom. Now let's introduce more dangerous things like more stunts, more practical effects utilizing explosions, stuff like that. Or what's this new thing called computer generated graphics and stuff like that, CGI. We're able to do things that we could have never seen before. Now we have people on ropes flying around like they're ninjas or superheroes, and then we're building on top of that to where some of the movies just make a lot of money, and it's a huge pastime. Same thing with video games. We start off with let's say the Atari, and it's just a fun little thing you plug into your TV and you're able to play whatever, like these Pong. Like Pong, it's just a game, right? You're moving back and forth. We evolve it to let's say Super Mario, where it's just Super Mario saves the princess by jumping on turtles and going to the castle to rescue her. Like, it's a very simple story, and you can see how it evolves. And we have games like Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest, where they take the idea of like tabletop games like Dungeons and Dragons, where a lot of it was building up stories and creating this world. This is like, look at here, Final Fantasy Dragon Quest. It's a pre-made world for you to explore, to decipher, and to uncover the mysteries of. And then we take those simple RPGs, or like simple hero saves the princess, like Legend of Zelda, and then we get something like Ocarina of Time later on, where it has a more in-depth story, to where we would eventually get stuff like Final Fantasy X, which is an amazing, beautiful story. And then, of course, not counting out any of the more modern stuff, like let's say The Last of Us. That is a big one. I've never played it myself, but the amazing production value that goes into video games nowadays, to where they're even getting celebrities and to play these roles. Yeah, like from movies, and we're getting adaptations, like, to bring it up again, League of Legends. Like, League of Legends is a multiplayer battle arena, right? Multiplayer online battle arena, where the main thing is that you can pick a cool character with some lore background, just to kind of for flavor text. But the main goal of the game is, you want to beat the other team. There's the lore and the story takes a back foot, even though the lore already existed for the people who cared enough to take a look at it. We go into it, and then it's like, wow, it's amazing. They should really make an animated series about that. What happens? Arcane comes out, and it takes the world by storm. And hey, guess what? People who were saying that video games won't be anything, that was all based off of a video game. A video game with and video games started out simple, and look at how they evolved. Same thing with movies, same thing with everything else. Yeah, like video games are just now very big, and like I said, it all stems from the community coming together to really express their love for video games, that they're able to become as big as they are today.
Yeah, and I think, like, for me personally, video games were always just a pastime to other people. And to me, it was more than that, right? And clearly from you, right? It seemed much more than that,
Yes.
Like you mentioned, people talking and making content, not even just them playing the games, right? Like you have people dissecting the story of Xenoblade, as you mentioned.
Yes.
Every detail to a fine detail, and not even just the story, but and these other things that are what these characters are stuff is based off on, from the real world, and all this kind of information and stuff gets around, and people are suddenly super into video games more and more, rather than just taking them at face value, right?
Yeah.
This person, and this person goes to save the princess Mario and Link in The Legend of Zelda, right?
Yeah.
Or you have Pokemon, where you become the champion of the region, and it's your journey, right? Essentially, these games can tell these stories, not just from single player games, but also people's rise to glory, with
Yeah.
esports, and
Yeah.
I think that's why like it's just amazing that gaming now has been blown up into this massive thing that a lot of people are into, and like as you mentioned, production value as well. Like people like the huge tournaments, like worlds, right? They have a whole arena set up just for 10 people at a time to play a game, to play League of Legends.
Yeah.
And
In fact,
it's
last
crazy.
year I think it was in an old Olympic Coliseum. That's where they had Worlds last year. If
Really?
I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So these Olympic Coliseums, they turn it into a they were these big events. Like they take it and then like here's 10 people playing a video game, and there's thousands, like millions of people watching them.
Yeah, either
It's
like
crazy.
from a live stream, right, from a different point in the world,
Yeah.
to like to just sitting at the comfort of your home or being there in person.
Yeah.
So I think
Crazy.
it's just crazy now. Like, yeah, I mean, like people would be like, "You're just watching people play video games. Why don't you just play them?" Like, that's not the point, right? It became
It really isn't the point anymore.
it became more than that after, and I think that's crazy. And now that I think about
The
it more.
beauty of video games now, it's that they bring people together.
Yeah.
They do. It's a cultural thing now.
And more food for thought for me, I think. Even though we've talked previously about this stuff before, in
Yeah.
a different conversation. But anyways, I think that's all the time we have for this episode. Thank you for watching Behind the Screens episode 1. Next time we'll be having a special guest, Kimitoru, a VTuber, a VTuber associate that me and Micah both know. But yeah, thank you for watching. And Micah, any last thoughts before we close off today's episode?
Oh, play Xenoblade. Play Xenoblade Chronicles. The trilogy is all on the Switch. Play it. It's peak gaming.
Alrighty. Well, with that in mind, thank you again so much for watching, everybody, and we will see you, and I'll catch you guys next time.